Welcome back, friends. In this video, I'm going to be giving you the solution to work-life balance, and I think it might surprise you. We are talking about work-life balance, and this is a conversation that a lot of people are discussing right now. Companies are very concerned about this, and businesses want to know how can they give their employees good work-life balance. Now, I always find this conversation very interesting because there is a solution, and the solution to work-life balance is extremely simple, and nobody is talking about it. But before we get to the solution, let's talk a little bit about the problem. Americans work really long hours. In fact, Americans work longer hours than any other country in the world. The data from the Department of Labor puts the typical American at over 38.7 hours a week, but that includes part-time workers. So 40% of workers work more than 50 hours per week. 20% of workers work more than 60 hours per week. The finance industry is very high, where employees can work anywhere from 60 to 100 hours a week, and this can be pretty rough on employees. It's important to understand why this happens, and I'm going to be sharing with you one of the dirty little secrets of business. Every business understaffs. And there's actually a very good reason for this. Revenue streams are variable. So you will have good months and bad months, and your cash coming in the door is always fluctuating. The problem is your labor cost is stable. I mean, the whole reason people take jobs is so that they can have a steady paycheck. Well, your labor cost is usually your highest expense. And this means that your cash inflows are variable and your cash outflows are stable. This is one of the most challenging problems in accounting, is planning your staffing to account for these fluctuations. In this environment, it makes sense to understaff, because if you overstaff, the outcomes are worse for everyone involved. So if you staff up and you have a slow month, two things are going to happen. First, you're going to have people standing around with nothing to do, and you're going to lose a lot of money. But second, the even worse outcome is that the business might have to lay people off, and nobody wants that. So as a business leader, it makes sense to be conservative in your staffing. Understaffing by itself is not the problem. It's a business decision. What I think is the problem is managers that take advantage of the situation. So let me explain to you a typical example. Imagine an employee that takes a job that's supposed to be 40 hours a week. So the employee walks into the job on the first day to find 60 hours worth of work sitting on their desk. Now I find that most employees want to do a good job at work. Employees want to impress their boss and have good performance evaluations. Since it is the first week of work, this new employee has a decision. Do they work 40 hours and go home, or finish the 60 hours of work? Well, most likely they're going to decide to stay late and finish the 60 hours of work. The manager sees this and they keep their mouth shut, because they just got 20 hours of free labor they didn't have to pay for. And since the environment is still understaffed, that employee is going to come back into work the following week and still find 60 hours worth of work to do. This is how people get stuck. And companies try to address this. They do things like bring in free food and try to create a fun environment. But the fact remains that they're still taking advantage of their employees. So here it is. I'm going to give you the simple solution to work-life balance. It's called the 40-hour work week. And this is something we already know about. When people talk about work-life balance, what they really want is time. The difference between a 40-hour work week and a 60-hour work week is an 8-hour day versus a 12-hour day. That is a big difference. What this means in real life is with an 8-hour work day, you have time to go home and eat dinner with your family. You have time to play with your kids and watch them play soccer. You have time to spend with your significant other. You have time to spend on your hobbies. And there's going to be people out there who really love their jobs and want to work more than 40 hours a week, but that should be their choice. The person who bears the most responsibility here is our business leaders. Now, I've seen managers who are really good at this, and I've seen managers that are really awful at this. And it's up to the managers to go to their employees and explicitly tell them, my expectation is that you work 40 hours a week. Unless the manager says that specifically, the employee is going to feel obligated to work late. Managers need to acknowledge that the company made a business decision to understaff. And so there's going to be more work than can be completed in a 40-hour work week. And here's what managers should be telling their employees. They should be saying, prioritize the work that you can accomplish in 40 hours, and then go home to your families. And I'm not saying that employees shouldn't work overtime during busy periods, because you're going to have busy periods, but that should be the exception, not the norm. I realize I'm going to make a lot of enemies by putting this video out there. There are whole industries whose entire business model is built on taking advantage of their employees. Some companies are really bad at this. There is a really important reason why companies should take this seriously. So everyone out there is talking about work-life balance. Let me tell you what's really going on here. What this is this is a very passive-aggressive conversation where no one is really tackling the real issue. Everyone is too afraid to really talk about what's going on. What all of these conversations are really about is workers are grumbling that companies are taking advantage of them. And if businesses don't start paying attention to this, things can go really bad very quickly. I think this is a really important issue, and the solution is so simple. It's so easy to solve. Companies just need to tell their employees, work a 40-hour work week, and the whole problem goes away. If that happened, no one would ever talk about work-life balance again. I know this is going to be a controversial video, especially for accounting and finance companies. So I want to hear from you. Go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. I've seen managers with different ideas about this. Some managers think like me, and some managers think that it's completely unreasonable to have 40-hour work weeks. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you liked this video, if you found it helpful, click on that subscribe button. The best way to supercharge a business is through accounting and corporate finance, and I release a new video every week. So come back and check out next week's video.